Welcome to Kamjiverse. This is your exclusive bridge between the legacy of classical Africa and the triumphs of modern African revolutions. You won't find this connection anywhere else. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Share this video with friends and family. Become a channel member or join our Patreon. The links are waiting in the description. Let's honor our sacred legacy and ignite our future together.
Why is the world ignoring one of Africa's deadliest conflicts? For nearly a decade, Cameroon has been torn apart by a brutal war between English-speaking separatists and the French-speaking government. Over 6,000 people have been killed and 500,000 displaced, yet it receives barely any media coverage. Unlike wars in Ukraine or the Middle East, this crisis lacks global strategic interests, so the world powers stay silent. But now, with human rights abuses on both sides, civilians suffer the most. But can awareness bring change?
This is going to be an article about, why some of the most neglected so-called humanitarian crises in African countries go ignored. It's because they are being financed and directed by Western states and Western geopolitical regimes. So released on Tuesday, the report by the nonprofit Norwegian Refugee Council, NRC, lists Cameroon, Mozambique, and a host of other African nations as some of the most burdened by violence and displacement, but also the most invisible to donors. The news comes as the U.S., formerly the world's biggest aid provider, massively cut development funding this year. Aid agencies received only half of what they needed in 2024. And experts say further shrinking aid will likely make 2025 more bleak for people in need. 8 African emergencies were previously ranked as the most ignored in 2023 as well. What does the report say? Millions of people who have been displaced and face food insecurity or lack shelter are receiving little aid because of donor fatigue, poor media coverage, and little to no political resolution, according to the NRC's 2024's Most Neglected Crisis Report. The report defined countries in crisis as those that host or have more than 200,000 displaced people, and which have been declared to be in severe crisis emergencies. Over 34 countries analyzed, the most invisible, according to the NRC report, were Cameroon, Ethiopia, Mozambique, Burkina Faso, Mali, Uganda, Iran, the DRC, Honduras, and Somalia. Aside from funding, there was little progress in effective conflict resolution, disaster prevention, and diplomatic engagement in all of the affected countries, the report added. In general, aid funding dropped overall in 2024, the NRC noted. The shortfall between what was required to meet humanitarian needs in 2024 and what was delivered was a staggering $25 billion, meaning over half of all needs went unmet, the report stated. Why are African humanitarian emergencies ignored? Donor fatigue and growing waves of nationalistic policies within traditional donor countries are causing the richest countries to reduce foreign aid funding, experts say. A lack of proximity to emergencies, analysts add, also affects attention. Too many crises across the continent remain in the shadows, ignored because they don't make headlines or because they are not seen as an immediate strategic interest to international partners. Christo Hure, NRC's head of advocacy in West and Central Africa, told Al Jazeera, crises that knock on Europe's door, as happened in 2015 with massive migration, tend to receive the greatest media attention, while those far away remain not only out of sight but also out of mind. So which are the most neglected African emergencies? Cameroon, the West Central African nation, tops the list of the world's most neglected crises in 2024. In the English-speaking northeast and northwest regions of Cameroon, a protracted civil war which began in 2017 is continuing. That year, thousands took to the streets to protest against the appointment of French-speaking judges and, in general, alleged discrimination from the Francophone majority government. Heavy crackdowns to suppress the protests soon saw armed groups springing up, declaring independence. The government in Yaoundé in turn declared war. Both the rebels and the government forces have targeted civilians. Hundreds have died and thousands more displaced internally or have fled to neighboring Nigeria. The violence there is largely ignored because it's not a direct threat to the central government, Beverly Ochieng, a security analyst with United Kingdom-based intelligence firm Control Risk, told Al Jazeera, adding that little has been done to negotiate peace. There was a feeling initially that some of the secessionist leaders were trying to lobby Donald Trump to support their case, but they've just not received any attention. So meanwhile, in the northern Lake Chad Basin region, also connected to Nigeria, violence by the armed group Boko Haram has continued for years, displacing thousands. And we know that when it comes to Boko Haram and even the Amazonians, they are all being financed by these Western states. Most of the guns and the money that they get is coming from agents and operatives facilitating these transactions in these Western states, France, Britain, Germany, the United States, Canada. So a lot of these people who are running this movement live abroad. And confounding this as an English versus French conflict when it's really a Grassfields or a West Cameroonian thing, versus the ethno-nationalists of the RDPC. They're predominantly an ethno-nationalist, even though they do have some handpicked puppets from different ethnic groups. They're predominantly an ethno-nationalist business. So it's really a Grassfields conflict with the overarching supremacist authority. And, reports like this are not going to be 100% honest about this, because at the same time, they want to say that, oh, the West doesn't need these places. But a lot of the time, it's covert operations. It's certain things that are off the books. It's certain intelligence, operations that they're doing to be able to maintain their control. And it's like order out of chaos. The whole entire planet is ran off of organized crime, if you really want to get to the bottom of it. And all of these folks, the Kokaana Importation Agency and all of the Alphabet Boys definitely play a role on both sides of the equation. So this is clear, and this is why, some of the conflicts and some of the different things that happen on the African continent go unnoticed, because they want to throw the rock and hide their hand. They're not going to tell you about the different covert operations that AFRICOM and these different agencies have in Africa, because they don't want to show you their full playbook. But that they're there. And that this is real. So that's all I got for this one. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace.
Join the Comgiverse Patreon for exclusive content, behind the scenes access, and special perks. Support the channel and connect with a community of revolutionary intellectuals and scholars. Click the link in the description to join now.